Hello, hello. Welcome. I was just saying, hello, mom. And I was wondering why no one was react. My mother's here. You can guess who. And hello, Ryan. Thanks for the shout out on the group. Hello, Krista, with the Buddha in the background. And Klaus, Druide. Krista, welcome. Hello. Roman, lying in bed as usual. But because of your injury. And Maria. And Rob. Okay. Um, yes. So 1 minute past, let's begin. I'm outside today because my van is still in the mechanics. Probably it will take some weeks because my clutch broke down. But I found a really nice spot where I can do my calls. There's a table in nature. I just have to bring my ice pack for my power bank so it doesn't break down. So today's topic is to practice Anicca, specifically in the body sensations, but really we can do this with any sensory experience. So anicca is often translated as impermanence. So we all know this, the Buddhist philosophy of impermanence, the Buddhist practice of everything is impermanent. So this is often taken as quite conceptual, like kind of telling ourselves, yes, this will change. Of course, this will change. Of course, this is impermanent. And I would like to share with you a way that you can just make this into a felt experience. And I prefer actually the translation of anicca to be more this sense of aliveness or movement within what we're experiencing rather than just change or impermanence, because for me that has this connotation of a kind of deadness, but really I feel the felt experience of impermanence is much more like a process of nature. There's so much life there which is continuously transforming, and so we will work with this, noticing this within the field of the body sensations. And simultaneously, or after the second half, after the first half of the session, in the second half of the session, we will also turn our attention towards any kind of visual mental activity that starts appearing in our consciousness. So this is not something, doesn't have to be something crazy or fantastical or imagination wise. It's really very basic, and we all have it except 2% of the population. But we all have some kind of visual mental activity happening, whether it's picturing people's faces or scenes or places, replaying memories. Even when we're planning something, often we might see uh, vague outlines of things or vague outlines of our computer, or even you might have your eyes closed and you remember where you're sitting and what's in front of you. And all of this is some kind of subtle visual mental activity. And this is really, a wonderful practice to do to start developing this awareness of this visual mental activity, to be able to not mistake it for reality, because that's what we often do. We mistake this visual mental activity, these images, for the actual thing, which they are not. Not that we want to remove them, just as we don't want to remove our thoughts. It's just about recognizing them for what they are. So especially when we are more triggered or overwhelmed or upset about something, often this will have a lot of visual mental activity, maybe seeing the person's face flashing that we're upset about, or seeing the situation over, replaying the mental movie. So this is also all mostly involuntarily. And we're just empowering ourselves by cultivating the ability to observe it in the present moment. Yes. Okay. Sound good? Is there any questions before we dive in?
Yeah, I just have one request.
Yes.
I know we've become close, but I'm gonna need you to stop calling me mom. Nice to meet you, Miss Anne.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Unexpected. Okay, with that, thank you for this grinning warm up, smiling warm up. That's always a beautiful way to start the meditation. So welcome you to settle in to whatever posture suits you today. And you don't have to rush in order to become still. You can kind of slowly allow yourself to arrive there in a more still body. Still, if there's some micro adjustments that want to be made to feel more comfortable, feel more settled, feel more at ease, make the body nice and centered, aligned, balanced, letting yourself orient towards around you through what you hear, through knowing where you are, through knowing where's the sky, where's the ground, what's behind you, what's in front of you. And just notice how the sounds that you hear are a kind of symptom of aliveness around you, of movement, of activity, whether it's the movement of cars or people or wind or leaves or birds. And similarly, in the field of sensations, of bodily sensations, in the field of posture, proprioception, in the field of touch, what your body is touching externally, and internally, the interoception, the sense of your inner body. Anything you experience within this field is also a kind of symptom of you being alive. You feel, therefore you are. You sense, therefore you are. Whether it's the movement of the breath or some tingling or pulsing or warmth or coldness somewhere. Even the fact that your mind or your attention moves. Even the fact that your mind understands, cognizes, thinks. Another kind of movement that indicates your being here, being alive. Next, I would love to just go a little bit more closer in to the experience around the lips and above and around the lips, where we have a lot of sensitivity. When we are babies, we bring things to our mouth and taste things and explore the world through our mouth. So we still have a lot of sensitivity in nerve endings around the lips and the mouth. You might begin to notice that there is this movement there in the actual experience around your lips and mouth. There's a kind of tingle or vibration or pulsing. And when we relax the idea that we already know our mouth, our lips, and get a little bit more curious about what's the actual felt experience there in that area, which we call mouth. There's a whole universe of sensations, of vibrations, of movement, of aliveness. Kind of like when we take a patch of the forest floor and we feel, ah, yes, that's the forest floor. And then we look closer at what's there, and there's just so much life teeming in that little patch of forest floor. Bugs and critters, and even if we could have look closer at a microscopic level, so much aliveness in that patch of forest floor. So similarly with this area of the lips, when we relax the assumption that we already know it, there gradually appears more and more layers of aliveness in the sensation, both on the surface and also deeper underneath. When we relax, seeing the mouth and lips from the outside as an image, really, and taste deeper the field of mouthness. And now I invite you to explore that in the rest of the face. can be the more outer face, the superficial face, can be also more the inner face, the face that you cannot see or touch from the outside, but that you can only feel from the inside. The face that you've never actually directly experienced, you've only inferred was there from mirror images, photos, other people's faces interacting. Relaxing the assumption or idea that this is somehow something stable that exists. Giving space to the possibility that it is a felt ongoingness, a felt aliveness, a felt movement. And relaxing that idea that somehow you have to look harder for something that you cannot see, but whatever you feel there now is exactly what's there. And now also welcome to the back of your head, a place you've definitely never experienced directly or seen directly. A place you somehow vaguely know as somewhere there, the back of your head, tending to the sensations, what we might call the back of the head. And note here that you might be picturing the back of the head. And as I said, this is a natural thing we do, imagining, picturing it. But I really invite you to more and more attend to not the perception of, but the feeling of, or the sensation of back of the headness, which maybe doesn't have any clear boundaries or shape, but you still know that it's different from the front of your head. And for that, actually, let's go to the whole back of the body, from the top of the head to the shoulders to the pelvis, whole back of the body. Can be more on the surface or a little bit deeper. The back of the body is often a place we have not fully integrated into the map, the visual map of our body, because we just simply often are not seeing it. So it makes an interesting place to attend to. Can include the back of the legs also. And now noticing any sense of movement or aliveness, even if very vague or subtle, along anywhere or everywhere in the back of the body. You might also want to relax the image or assumption that there's a clear boundary there in the back of the body. A clear boundary of the skin, for example. The back is mysterious. It's not so clear, yet it is there. Difficult to pin down. Yet we know we are experiencing it. Often carries not so much sensation. And by now you're probably noticing that often when we are feeling body sensations, it mixes in with body images, visual maps of the body and how it's sitting, or parts of the body. And let's rest more openly with the whole body, integrating back and front, left and right, up and down. Noticing any sense of aliveness in this field of the body sensation, cloud of bodily sensation. Especially in those parts which somehow feel more unsatisfying to you, whether it's a little knot or tension somewhere. See if you can contact that same aliveness as you contact it near the mouth within those denser, heavier, more solid parts. Not by trying to find it, but by relaxing what you know about it. Great. And now for the next 20 minutes, this field of aliveness in the body, wherever you notice it, is our primary meditation anchor. This field of anicca. And we can gently also include into our investigation now any mental imagery that appears, any mental visual activity which will appear and does appear on its own, so you don't need to somehow conjure it up by thinking about something. It will appear, and our only work is now to gently notice it as mental visual activity, as visual activity appearing in the present moment. And because our eyes are closed, we can just assume that anything that we see, anything coherent that we see is mental visual activity, whether it's faces or people or ourselves or scenery, room, rooms, objects. Sometimes it's maybe even the computer screen or something you're working on. Sometimes it can be more dreamlike, more fantastical, less realistic. Indeed, this mental visual activity is not not stable like normal vision is. It's much more somehow fleeting and rough and outlines. Sometimes it's color with colors, sometimes not. We're noticing anything at all which we could call visual mental activity. And if you start looking too hard, just come back to the body and the field of anicca. If ever you get lost in thought, the moment you wake up out of that, just recognize whether any image is or was present. You don't need to know the details of it or what it was about, just the fact that it was visual, gentle recognition. Sometimes this visual activity is tied to something we experience, whether a particular sensation in the body or a sound, and the mind's recognition or imagination of the place or source. Sometimes it's also completely disconnected from what we feel or hear. It's something we might have experienced in the past, or maybe even have never experienced. If the inner vocalization or verbalization we did last week is more this storyline or narration to our experience, and the images are more the mental maps, the mental representations we use to make sense, to construct ourselves and our world and our actions. And we need them absolutely. We're not trying to get rid of them. We are just seeing them more clearly. And what's really clear in this mental visual activity is its anicca, its impermanence, its transience. Because they are extremely unstable experientially. They flicker, and there's also this clear sense of aliveness in them. For even if you don't try to have them, they continue to move and create, just as your body sensations. And lastly, for a little experiment, I invite you to bring to mind intentionally something that annoys you, whether it's a person or situation, and then notice what comes up in your experience. Is it more visual? Is it more vocal, like your own voice or the other's voice? Or is it more somatic, more felt? Or maybe some combination? Then again, whatever came up for you, and if there's a feeling which came up in your body, let's contact again this undercurrent, subtle undercurrent of aliveness, which we might find there in that feeling. Emotions are also kind of awake, alive energy, and we don't have to make them go away, the feeling. We can just relax around their experience by contacting more the anicca, the aliveness within them. Great. And now to finish, some intentional imagery. You imagine all beings in this world, both the ones which are suffering and the ones which are happy, and you can imagine they are smiling, soft, including yourself. And contacting the feeling of, or the imagination of, this sense of basic goodness or aliveness in all beings, including the one you were annoyed at. Okay, great. Thank you. And you can open the eyes and take a minute or two to reorient to your environment, to your body in movement. And yeah, thank you for being here, and welcome to stay around for 10-15 minutes of sharing or discussion. Otherwise, thank you for joining. Next week we will do somatic thoughts, um, the felt energy of thinking. Hey, so yeah, open space to share. I'm very curious to hear your experience of the meditation and the practice we did today, which was contacting the felt aliveness, anicca, and also the visual mental activity.
I found that there was a lot of varying intensity with the visual thinking. Like I think probably most of it was what you're describing, where it's very fleeting and not very solid. But
Hmm.
there's some visuals that like stay for longer and are much more intense and
Hmm.
more akin to actually seeing.
Mm.
Like one
Of
in
what type was that? Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, you were just gonna give an example. I was just gonna ask for an example.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
uh, yeah, that one in particular was uh, eyes. Like whenever I visualized somebody's eyes, that was like really staying for a long time, and I felt like I could really see their eyes. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's either a lot of what we focus on in an image or in a scene. Like most people, they visual attention goes straight into the eye. So it makes sense that that's more prominent, more saved, more ingrained as something that you would also somehow experience, even if they're not there. Oh wow, there's a little bug on the camera lens.
Yeah.
A little fly. I think that's oh, now it's crawling across. Yeah, different is now. You can't see my eyes.
Yeah.
That's nice. Nice. Okay, thank you for sharing, right? Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, right. One thing I noticed was, especially as got more settled, that when the visual experience would arise and there wasn't time for the story to attach, or the story, there was no story, so it wasn't like that. Usually those are so much closer, like they stimulate each other, like image and then story or story image. And what I noticed that was really interesting was as the visual phenomenon arose, it had a sensation attached instead of story, like almost like a flavor, like a taste or
Mm,
uh, um, and that was very interesting to me, just to like the had the feeling tone, but without a narrative explanation or meaning making. And then, of course, the mind got interested in that and started explaining it.
yeah.
But that was really interesting, that moment of like, oh, it's like almost like I experienced it mostly as almost like a taste, actually. Like, um, anyway, very
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm. Uh-huh. Was that a good taste or a bitter taste or sweet or
All
salty taste?
all of that. It
All
was
of it.
all that was, yeah, very much like when, yeah, it would be like nice taste, or like without that word nice, or but like
Yeah, yeah.
something, or like I noticed like metallic flavor with something that was
Hmm.
more unpleasant. Um,
Hmm.
and that was very surprising to me.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're directly experiencing their Vedana, the felt feeling tone of all experiences. Sometimes more satisfactory, sometimes unsatisfactory, sometimes agreeable, sometimes more disagreeable, and how, and that's what then constructs like our whole meaning of what we should do towards it, what we moving toward it, moving away from it. Yeah, yeah, beautiful that you're seeing that. Yeah, that can often be covered more. Like I feel like thinking is the iceberg, and what's the visible part is often just the narrative. It's most loud. Um, but there's a whole visual, there's a whole feeling part of it as well. Of course, for some people, it's maybe more visual than narrative based. So yeah, interesting. Thank you for sharing. What else did you experience? Doesn't have to be so profound or subtle. Maybe you had difficulties. Hello,
Right.
Sonia. Hey.
Yeah, yeah. My question is like when I'm doing like into meditation, it is like what I'm going to get from this. Like the
Mm,
mind is like why I'm doing this, what I'm going to get from this. It
yeah,
is like yeah, and I can notice some part is alive also. I mean, I can sense that aliveness also, and some part is bit resistant and creating all this kind of things. What I'm going to get from this, why I'm doing this, that. And what keeps us motivated or to do it daily or something like that. Like I have done this, the course I have started for 10 days, right? So I've done for 4 days correctly, then I've stopped it. So what makes someone to continue it daily?
yeah. Depends a lot on the person, and the motivation, of course, changes a lot also over time and with practice. Like I can also say that in the beginning, when I started practicing, it was very much, what am I going to get from this in terms of stress reduction or calmness or something? Um, but now for me, what really keeps me going in it and has been quite a sustainable way to keep the practice alive is it's just a curiosity. It's like a research into my experience, and it's just so fascinating. Like I keep discovering new things and new layers, and um, of course not every day. Some days are just boring or struggle or dull or drowsy or fatigued, and there it doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm having crazy insight or something. It's just sitting there. But it changes always very rapidly. So a few days later might be very different. Yeah, one thing is curiosity, and yeah, I think it's also just, yeah, the other thing I was going to say is when I don't do it, I do notice my life starts tilting differently. Maybe the effect isn't like, okay, the next day I feel bad or something, or that day, but I notice when I do it less or something, and then maybe after some days or a week or two, then oh, I start noticing more agitation again, more restlessness, more tension, more impatience, and then it's always very clear, like, oh yeah, like this is something in my life that supports me, and sometimes need to also find out what it's like to not be supported by it to understand the support that I do get from it. So those two things for me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Curious also if anyone else wants to add anything, any other motivation that feels for them like, yeah, it's fueling or motivating them in a sustainable way. Any of the other people here? Maybe not.
I like curiosity. I think that's a good one. Like you said, it's sustainable because there's just so much to unpack that you'll never run out of it. And for me, like I find myself like intensely curious about my work. Um, so just trying to move that same curiosity over to the practice. Yeah, I just think it's a good motivator. um, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shri.
so I agree with, I resonate with everything you said, Raimar, regarding the practice. And I think it also has allowed me, I think if I keep up with the practice, it has also allowed me to be a better friend to myself. Like, I don't, after practicing it, I don't feel anymore a need for something external to be keeping me engaged in a good way, or I can be self-reliant more. Actually, I hardly get bored nowadays. I can just, yeah, I have to keep up the practice somehow, but it has brought in some change. I don't know what it is. So
Yeah. And when did you start, Shri?
January, I took the 10-day course. Before that, I have played, I have tried to be, I have tried my best to start meditating for close to 10 years now, but the 10-day course was very profound for me. So I can notice right away the days I have not meditated. It's just like taking an antidepressant, actually, for me. When I have not meditated for 1 day or 2 days, I can notice the change now in me. So I don't know. I never want to stop. It's definitely helped me be good to myself, or be self-reliant.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Shri. Yeah, it's a great success story. Need to have you make a testimonial for me on the website or something.
Yes, for sure, Raimar. It's been like a blessing for me. Yeah.
Great. Great. Okay. Maybe last one, Roman, did you just appeared on the video? You want to say something?
Actually, I thought I would not say something, but it's very resonating what Shri just told just right now also with me. With the meditations, when it's a good days, when I meditate a lot or just meditate in a good way, let's say, like not sleepy, I feel something that like there is much less wanting on something that is not here. So it's like, I don't know how to explain it, like satisfied with the day or with the moment, like with the, so I need less entertainment, like yeah, very resonating kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Great. Awesome. Okay, thank you, Buddha. All right, let's close it there and see you next weekend, maybe. More practice. Enjoy your week. Arigato.